10 or 20 years, I mean, from the I would say the birth of television news, not the birth of television, to get to a point where the medium was used appropriately, and it's evolved since then. The internet is only, I mean, the graphic user interface is only a little over 10 years old, and certainly to build out broadband and the general acceptance of the internet is in American households maybe only 5 to 8 years old. And so the way we use the internet, which encompasses all media, it encompasses text and audio and video, and it has new capabilities such as databases, searchable databases, and most important of all, it has two-way conversation or multiple conversations. It's not a one-to-many way of communicating, but it's a many-to-many way of communicating. That interactivity, all of those are elements that, as a journalist who has played in different media, and now I'm working primarily in the internet medium, every day you get a new idea about how to tell a story, and that story can't be a linear story. It can be an inverted pyramid text-based story, or it can be a narrative, but it can also have these new points of entry, and it can call for reader and user engagement so that you have crowdsourcing, and when it's appropriate you have video, and when it's appropriate you have audio, and when the document is worth showing, you link to it, or you put it up in a PDF. And you also don't have to do everything yourself. I mean, as Jeff Jarvis at City University of New York says, and basically he's echoing Google, he says, do the best yourself and then point to the rest. And that's what you should do with the internet. The internet doesn't, instead of having everything held within your universe, you excel at the thing you do. And Charlie talked about what he excelled at. Monitor, similarly, we excel at international news, and that's where our strength is. We have to give up certain things. So as we're no longer a newspaper, we have a cultural section, but we don't have as broad a feature section as we used to have, because we have to concentrate. We have to do what we do best. And the internet is this big organism that we all play in, and there is no loyalty to either. I mean, no one currently pays for a subscription to anything other than the Financial Times or the Wall Street Journal on the internet, and that may change over time. But the internet is about total promiscuity when it comes to brand loyalty. I mean, when you subscribe to the Boston Globe, you pay your money, and if you're like my parents, especially as you got older, you would sit there with the Austin American Station where I grew up, and you would read every page of it, including the recipes on page 59. And because you paid the money, because that was your paper, so that was your environment for getting the news. But on the internet, they pop over to you by an aggregator, they look at you, they think about that Darfur story that they followed you from Yahoo or Google to. They maybe think about whether they're going to look at anything else on your story page or your article page to see whether there's anything else that interests them, and then they just split. So the idea of holding people loyally onto your website, I mean, that happens. Boston.com has a lot of loyalty. People all over this city, you go into any part of the city, and there's always somebody who's got Boston.com on because they're looking at what the Red Sox are doing, and what the weather's going to be like, and what the traffic's going to be like, and also what's happening in the neighborhood. They get all of that. I mean, a city site is a powerful site. So it's a little harder when you're in a position like Charlie and me, because we're trying to give you a slice of news that is not geographically based. If our base is the planet, and that's not local. So anyway, I'm drifting a little bit, but the point is that it's a time of great opportunity for new forms of storytelling, and we don't even know the best forms of storytelling. All I know is that if you take your old models with you, and you got to be good at writing, and you got to have skills in video, you certainly need to know those, and you should understand audio. You should definitely understand code and databases enough so that you can at least ask for what you want of somebody who's even more skilled. And then you probably mash it all together, and you don't do it all yourself. You do it in alliance with a lot of other people who are either working with you or that you know through a link ecology across the internet. And that's the world we're in. And I agree with Charlie. It's a really exciting world for a journalist, but it's not the world of Charlie and the guy with the vodka bottle.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and it's not the world of lifetime employment. It's the world of, it's a kind of an artistic, creative, almost entrepreneurial world where, you know, Charlie has his model, and there'll be others with other models and there are many out there that have been funded by NAHJ and others for micro-local news. Great need for that, you know. I mean, just as the world needs coverage, every city and town is going to go through a crisis with its news organization, and it's going to need to have a new model for covering City Hall and covering state legislatures. Somebody's got to invent that someplace, and maybe there will be 1,000 inventions in that. So, you know, if you guys are into that, if you're into flexibility and risk and not a lot of security, but really some pretty amazing things, I mean, this is the time to be a journalist.
I wonder if it isn't a lot like it was to be a journalist in the 20s and 30s.